live. So for the first time, we're doing a live broadcast, doing a presentation. Now I have to see. There will be technical glitches for sure this first time. So let's see if we can bring on Ivo. Ivo, you are here. I still don't hear you. So let's see. Nope. I don't think it says here that you are muted. So I don't think that there is anything that I can do. Yeah, no, from my side, I cannot do anything. So just try to fiddle with some buttons, Ivo, okay? And we will go into the presentation. Today, we wanted to do a presentation on new market surveillance systems together with Ivan Hendricks, who's a specialist in this field. Unfortunately, due to other technical glitches, Ivan was not able to make it. And I decided to keep this slot available and to do a presentation on the new European Union regulation on market surveillance, which has a lot of consequences, potential consequences for economic operators. And so I think it's an important topic to discuss today. Now, for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Hans Zuiderwijk. I am the founder of Allura Group and cemarking.net. I've been working as a European Union product compliance expert for more than 25 years. And I've prepared this presentation for you. So considering all the technical glitches that we are having, I would say let's just go ahead with it. Please feel free to leave your comments and your questions. It will be nice if you join and participate. You can drop your questions in the comment box. If you are watching this live on YouTube, you can drop your questions or comments in the YouTube chat box. Otherwise, if you are looking on Facebook, there's a chat box there as well. Drop your questions there. And maybe also just say hi and let me know where you are watching from. So that's interesting for us to know. Also for future broadcasts, which we plan to do on a regular basis, you would like to be notified of new shows, then please subscribe to the channel and you'll be notified automatically. So let me one more time. No, I will not one more time switch back to Ivo. We'll go into the presentation straight away. Let me just share my screen. So this is the topic of our presentation today, the new EU regulation and how it may affect manufacturers and importers. So very briefly about myself, you know me as a European product regulations and compliance specialist. We've been doing CE marking for many, many years, more than 25 years already. Allura Group is also an authorized representative for over 250 companies at this moment. Myself, I've been involved in writing legislation, product safety legislation, technical regulations in more than 15 countries. So let's discuss this new regulation and why it was adopted in the first place. Well, the first thing maybe I have to note is that this is a regulation on market surveillance. So the main topic of this regulation is market surveillance, meaning market surveillance is related to enforcement of technical regulations. So how does this affect economic operators? Well, over the last 10, 25 years, we have seen that the supply chain has dramatically changed. First of all, where we used to produce a lot of products in the European Union or let's say, in the country nearby, close to where you live, products were manufactured. But over the last 30, 40 years, this has changed. Production has moved further and further away. The European Union was established to make use and to benefit from the trade between the member states of the EU, and therefore, for that purpose, the regulations in these different member states were harmonized to make trade between these countries more and more easy. With the evolvement of the internet and e-commerce, it now is possible to order your products basically from anywhere in the world. And more consumers are doing this. And we saw a trend which started, I would say, approximately 5 years ago, where consumers were starting to buy straight from the factories through platforms like Alibaba, AliExpress. It was very easy to just buy straight from the factory. However, this poses a problem in terms of product compliance because regulations have been written with the traditional supply chain in mind. So traditional supply chain of and I will show it here on the screen. So traditionally, you have a producer, which is either located in your market or outside of the market. And here the market is indicated by this broken line circle, which represents a border. So the manufacturer or producer is located inside or outside the market. And then from there, the product flows to a distributor when the producer is inside the market, or to an importer if the product came from outside of the common market. And from there, from the distributor, it then flows further down to the retailer and then finally to the end user. So with these new developments in e-commerce, what happened was basically the end user, a consumer, would buy their product straight from the producer. Now, this is a problem because, and I will go through the new regulation. So this was a problem because in our traditional model, besides the manufacturer, whether located in or outside of the market, there are two other persons that could bear responsibility for product compliance. And that is, first of all, the importer. According to the current legislation, the importer has the same responsibilities for product compliance as the manufacturer. If the manufacturer is located outside of the EU market, then the importer automatically takes over all these responsibilities and liabilities. So what changed with this new regulation, and why is this new regulation important? Well, the new regulation is basically trying the European Commission's effort to try to adjust to this new situation that traditional supply chain is basically completely skipped, and that the product flows directly to the end user. In accordance with the old regulation, that would mean that the end user would be seen as the importer and would bear all the responsibilities for product compliance. But obviously, we don't want that because an end user does not have the resources to do conformity assessment, to check. They don't have the knowledge, the expertise, and they certainly do not have the money to also, for example, pay for testing if this was not done by the producer. So the European Commission was looking for an opportunity to correct this, and I think they found it with the regulation on market surveillance. because although this regulation is in principle on the topic of market surveillance, they have used the opportunity by introducing a chapter with some new articles, with some new responsibilities, trying to correct this situation. And let's have a look at those articles. So here you see Article 4, which introduces this new concept. Basically what Article 4 in paragraph 1 says is that no product may be placed on the market in the European Union if there is not an economic operator, which they specify in a further paragraph. So without such an economic operator being located inside the European market, it is not allowed to place these products on the market. Now, which products are covered by this new requirement is formulated in paragraph 5 of Article 4. So this does not apply, as I've seen some websites wrote that this applies to all products, but in principle it applies to the products which are covered by one of the directives or regulations which are listed in paragraph 5 of Article 4. And there you see a lot of numbers which probably do not make any sense to you. But basically you can summarize these numbers as representing products that bear a CE marking or have to bear a CE marking. There are a few regulations for products that do require CE marking that are not listed here. But just to keep it simple for now, simple as possible for now. So I would say that a product that has to bear CE marking, you have to take into account this new requirement that it cannot be placed in the market if there is not one of 4 economic operators. So who are these 4 economic operators that have to be located in the market in order for you to be able to place these products in the market from these CE marked products in the market? Well, first of all, that's the manufacturer established in the European Union. Okay, so manufacturers established in the European Union, then in principle, then there is not a problem. Yeah. The second option, the importer of the product is established in the European Union. In that case, well, basically you have a traditional supply chain, and so there are no problems. But if a product, let's say, comes from outside of the European Union, and it is basically sold directly to end users or to consumers, there typically is no manufacturer in the European Union or importer in the Union. So in that case, there are only 2 options left. The first one is an authorized representative. This is a company, typically a legal person or a natural person, who represents the manufacturer, and he represents the manufacturer for those tasks that the manufacturer has mandated the authorized representative. So here I would like to note that there is a lot of confusion in the market about what is the role of an authorized representative. Some people think that this is a person or a company that takes over liability for the product, but that is not the case. So manufacturer may give mandate to the authorized representative to retain the technical files, in some cases maybe help him to draw up a declaration of conformity, help him to understand the requirement. However, authorized representative in no case will take over responsibility for product compliance or liability. So product compliance, conformity assessment, if you like, cannot be done by an authorized representative. This remains the responsibility of the manufacturer. So a manufacturer located outside of the EU could appoint an authorized representative, or use the fourth option. And the fourth option is fulfillment service provider established in the union. Fulfillment service provider is basically an organization that is involved in fulfillment of the order. So manufacturer receives, or the seller receives an order, and they ask the fulfillment service provider to fulfill this order. So basically to keep it in the warehouse, then to maybe package the product, label the product, and ship it to the end user. If there is a product fulfillment service provider in the European Union, and the manufacturer is using a fulfillment service provider to fulfill their orders, then this service provider will automatically get these new responsibilities. So they don't have to do anything for this. There doesn't need to be a contract for this. This is just a legal obligation. So if we consider for a moment, what are then the options of a manufacturer located outside of the EU for getting his product into the European Union to his end users? So basically they have the following options. First of all, they can establish their own office in the EU. And in that case, they would they can make this office, they register this office as the manufacturer, so as their own office, and therefore fulfill this obligation through the first indent. The second option is basically move away from selling directly to end users and start to work with importers, with distributors that can be their importer. But in a lot of cases, the manufacturers don't want that because they were using the e-commerce platforms to cut out the middleman. So, but it is an option that they have. It's just to start working with an importer. The third option that they have is to appoint an authorized representative, or as, for example, Amazon is calling this an EU responsible person for CE marked products. That is basically the same thing as what is written here, the authorized representative. So in that case, the authorized representative will retain the technical files of a product and will function as the single point of contact of the manufacturer for all product compliance related questions from the authorities. Authorized representative is not a sales representative, so it's not a point of contact where you can place your orders. And the fourth option is to export their products using the services, appointing a fulfillment service provider. And in that case, it's important to choose a fulfillment service provider that has some understanding about these new responsibilities and that can communicate professionally with the market surveillance authorities. Let me see if there are any questions at this moment. No questions, so we'll just move on. So I was mentioning the regulations that the regulations that point to the products that require this new requirement, so for which it is required to have a solution. And I said these are basically these are CE marked products. And here on the screen I've shown you the type of products that are covered and for which the solution that the manufacturer who's exporting from outside of the EU will have to find a solution. And these are products, on the one hand, electrical products. So if you have a product that has some form of electrical technology or electronics, then you have to be aware that you most likely are covered by this. And so to give you specific examples, so electrical equipment that falls under the low voltage directive, electronics that may be covered by the EMC directive, products that are covered by the RoHS, or Restriction of Hazardous Substances directive, products that are covered by eco-design and energy labeling regulations, products that contain radio frequency broadcasting and receiving components such as wireless products and Bluetooth products, and products, electrical products that are used in a potential explosive atmosphere. So these are covered, and besides these electrical products, what's also covered is machinery, machinery and equipment that is used outdoors, toys, construction products, personal protective equipment, pressure equipment, simple pressure vessels, and the aforementioned are a lot of industrial products, so are also covered. The gas appliances, recreational craft, which means basically pleasure boats, personal watercraft, and then measuring instruments and non-automatic weighing instruments, and finally pyrotechnical articles. So here we have the situation as the options that that currently exist, the 4 economic operators and where they stand in the supply chain. And for a manufacturer that is located outside of the EU, basically there are only 2 options left if they don't want to work with an importer. So we discussed fulfillment service provider already. So now let's go into the question, what are the responsibilities of these economic operators? First of all, one of these 4 economic operators can be contacted by the authorities and asked for declaration of conformity and technical file. Now, it is the responsibilities of these economic operators to make sure that a declaration of conformity and a technical file has been drawn up. They also have to retain them and keep them available for the authorities for as long as it is required in the technical regulations. So in most cases, the technical regulations require the technical file and declaration of conformity to be kept at least 10 years. They also have to ensure that the technical file can be made available if the authorities request so. For this, they have a short period of time. So first of all, this is regulated by the national laws of the member states, and therefore we do see that there are, let's say, small differences between the time frames. But typically what we can say is that you have a few days, 2, maybe 3 days to provide the technical files to the authorities. So they must be able to provide the authorities with all the information necessary to demonstrate product compliance. So in this regard, examples of documents are test reports, test certificates, assessments of labels, instructions for use, but also, for example, information and documentation concerning the manufacturing process to be able to show that the manufacturing process is of a consistent quality. The documentation needs to be in a language that can be easily understood by that authority. Now, uh, easily understood that could differ from one authority to another. In practical sense, what we see is that most authorities accept a technical file to be in English, and so we recommend you to use English, and when necessary, authorities have the right to ask you for translation, and in that case you provide them with a translation. The next point is rather important. So it is the responsibility to inform the market surveillance authorities when there is reason to believe that the product has a risk. So in this regard, so for example, you appoint an authorized representative or you work with a fulfillment service provider, it means that these economic operators have their own responsibility towards the authorities. And so they have the obligation to inform market surveillance authorities, even if this goes against the interests of their client. So it's important to note. These four economic operators also have to cooperate. This is now mandatory to cooperate with the market surveillance authorities when they instruct corrective actions to be taken. And the name and the postal address of this economic operator should be on the product or on the packaging or the parcel or accompanying documentation, if it is not possible to affix the name and address on the product itself. That is always the preferred way, and that is always the first step to look, can it be affixed on the product itself? And the fact that this you don't like how it looks is not a reason not to affix it to the product. So this is not accepted as an argument not to affix the name and address to the product itself. Yeah. So, as you've seen, their new responsibilities can be far-reaching, especially for manufacturers that are located outside of the European Union and that sell into the EU products that require CE marking. And basically you have two, as we have seen, two new options, appointing an authorized representative or to work with a fulfillment service provider. Whatever solution you are choosing, we would like to give you some tips about what to look for in a solution provider. So first of all, you have to ask yourself the question, is the solution provider that I'm choosing, are they knowledgeable? So do they have expertise about product compliance, about the regulations that apply and standards that apply? Because if they are not able to answer the questions of the market surveillance authorities, they could possibly make a case worse and this may lead to escalation of the problem. The other question that you can ask yourself is, where is the solution provider located? This now became more and more important. For example, after Brexit, if you had in the past appointed an authorized representative in the UK, you now need to appoint a second authorized representative or change your authorized representative because it is required that this economic operator is located inside the European Union. Of course, you would like to work with well-established companies, not with some new cowboys on the market that will disappear at the first signs of an incident because you rely on them to to work very well with the market surveillance authorities because you would like to continue to sell into the European Union market. Of course, the solution provider needs to have the infrastructure in order to be able to communicate with the authorities, take their inquiries, respond to them efficiently, promptly. They need to have staff that is able of professional communication, um, so they don't make a problem worse by bad communication. And obviously, you're also looking for an organization that provides customer support. So that is the presentation that I wanted to give. This is the information I wanted to give you at this point about this new regulation, and the issues that relate to it. So if you have any questions, you've seen the information on the screen. You also have the opportunity to raise your questions now or in one of our future broadcasts and live streams. So, Ivo.
I think I'm back.
Yes, you are
I
back.
think I am. Yay, I am.
Yes. So, was it more or less clear?
Yeah, it was perfect.
You
It was
know,
very clear.
yeah, I was
But
struggling a little bit with those technical glitches, so that was on my
yeah,
mind. So I was
that's normal. But the thing that I think that we need to do is make sure that we do picture in picture a little bit more
mhm.
because it's too static now. So there's
Okay,
no movement. When you started to switch to your face and back again, it got more interesting, like
okay.
100-fold.
So you
So
woke
that's
up
something that
basically.
we really need to look at,
Yeah.
and maybe put some more of our logo down at the bottom of the screen while you're doing the presentation. While you
Okay.
see like a lot of information, it's good to have our little logo down at the bottom with maybe some more information. Uh,
Okay.
the email address is maybe a good thing to put there as well.
Okay. Good. Well,
But
thank.
for a first try, it was perfect. I really liked it. I could follow it very clearly. You were calm. You weren't rushing. You were taking your time
Mhm.
at points, going back to points. So that was really good, at
Well,
least
but
in my opinion.
and what do you think about this new responsibility? So,
Well, I think it's a good way for the market to be sure that everything's done correctly. Being able to have people that are responsible for the products in the countries that there are questions for them. That's something that's always good. It's going to be better for the consumers, I think,
mhm,
and
sure.
for the manufacturers as well. So there's definitely something to gain for the market and for the people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had the situation over the last few years that people, maybe you did yourself as well. You ordered products from AliExpress, Alibaba, and then basically you're ordering straight from a factory.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it's the question. It's a big question mark. Well, maybe you can assume that these products are not assessed for conformity. They
No,
don't comply with
exactly.
CE marking.
No.
And so that was, of course, a huge problem. All these products entering into
Well,
the market, going to a consumer who has no clue about
es-
product.
especially if you have children, because on those websites you can find toys for next to nothing, and that's perfect if you want to save a buck here and there. You want to buy it there, but when you buy something from there, you're not quite sure what you're giving your child. Maybe it's toxic, maybe it has too much of this, too much of that. So that's why I think it was very important that regulation needed to come for especially for those players in the market,
Yeah,
and
I
it's good
agree.
that they did.
I agree. Um, Maybe this solution now does not deserve the beauty contest. At least from my point of view, it is
No.
basically stuffed into a regulation that is
Yeah.
dealing with, well, it's dealing with strengthening market surveillance and harmonizing requirements for market surveillance throughout Europe. So basically, it is a regulation that is directed to authorities, more or less.
Yeah.
Um, but this was an opportunity to introduce these requirements. Um, yeah, so that's
I think they had to put it somewhere now. I think there was no specific place for them right now, so the best place to put them was there. And I think into due time there will be a separate part that yeah that takes care of this segment. Yeah.
yeah. Yes. We are, as you know, we are waiting for the introduction of the new General Product Safety Directive in Europe, which applies to all kinds of consumer products. So
Hmm.
even the ones that are also covered by CE marking may also fall in addition under the General Product Safety Directive. And I am, well, General Product Safety Directive, it was announced for, an amendment was announced for last year,
Hmm.
and that didn't materialize due to COVID. So the whole agenda changed, the whole schedule changed, but
Yep.
it is announced for this year. We are waiting. It can be published any day now. Then it
Hmm.
will be very interesting to see whether the same principles are also included into the General Product Safety Directive.
Yeah.
At this moment, this regulation only makes the link to CE marked products. Uh,
For now.
although, although in Annex 1 to this new regulation, you can see that the other chapters of this regulation do apply to a very huge variety of products, even car tires and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. But this particular chapter with these, the basically prohibiting manufacturers located outside of the EU to sell directly into the EU. It's now only for CE mark products. Maybe it will change in the future and they will gradually include more and more and more products.
I think they will
Yeah,
at
it's
some point.
it would make sense. So why would
Yeah.
this be a problem only for CE mark products and not
Exactly.
for?
Exactly.
There are
There's.
so many products that you can order out of China, which,
Yeah.
well, I mean, there's the same concerns, like you were saying. Certain certain items may not fall under toys because they are not meant to be used as toys, but
Yeah.
they are used by consumers, also by small children. They may be contaminated with all kinds of chemical substances. So
It's just they need to be checked, and you see that there's movement in the marketplace to make sure that everything that's now going through small loopholes and stuff like that, those need to be caught as well and checked as well, because there's safety at hand, and people's lives are at risk, or maybe children's lives are at risk, and you don't want that.
right,
So that's a good thing.
right, yeah, and so yeah, there you have it. So another thing to keep in mind, I was thinking about this. Um, who is going to be responsible for checking this? Yeah. And I think this regulation will have far-reaching consequences for um, the customs
Yeah.
authorities, because really they are the first to deal with products which are shipped with postal services or with fulfillment services from outside of the EU. So
Yep.
typically, you order something from China, for example. Or, well, you don't have to bash China. You can order it from any country, from the US
Yeah, it
for
doesn't
that matter.
matter. Yeah.
Um, it ships with parcel services like FedEx, DHL, and then it comes to the borders, and the authority that typically checks products that are sent via parcel and via courier, so to speak, parcel delivery services, is the customs authorities.
Yep.
But can you imagine what the consequences, the potential consequences of this? So a lot of parcels coming in, they need to check this. All of a sudden, new responsibilities. Do they have the facilities? Do they have the
Nope.
people to check
The
this?
time.
The
Nope.
time, the
Nope.
warehouses.
Exactly.
So this is huge.
Yeah, the implications for the customs authorities and all those yeah, those are going to be very, very huge, and I wonder how they think that they are going to handle those, because something needs to change in that field as well, to make sure that they can handle all those new regulations that they need to check, or the new rules that they need to adhere to, and stuff like that. So I wonder what this is a good first step.
Yes, it's what I think that will happen is that the customs authorities are going to require, like they have done with, for example, VAT. Um, they are going to require the shipping agencies, so the postal services,
Ah, yeah,
the couriers, to basically take this information before the parcel is
yeah,
sent. Yeah. So that they're going to require the shipper, the person who's sending out the shipment, to declare who is, whether how they have solved this issue, whether
yeah,
they have a manufacturer, importer, an authorized representative, or
yeah.
a fulfillment service provider. What
They're
we
going
have
to
seen,
put the requirements on the shipper instead of the customs agencies. Yeah,
yeah,
because it's not doable.
yeah,
The customs need to just check a list and see if it's good, yes or no. But the shipper needs to get the responsibility of making sure that what he's shipping out is correct. Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah,
yes, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. What we have
yeah,
seen is um, that the service providers, that they are already looking for solutions out. They want out. They don't want its responsibilities.
no,
So, for example, Amazon, in principle, could be regarded as, for, well, not for everything, because they wear many hats and they have many different types of activities. But one of the activities that they are providing to their sellers is fulfillment by Amazon
yeah,
service. In that case, it's even in the service name, fulfillment
yeah,
service. So, um, but what we have seen is that Amazon is already requiring their sellers to appoint an authorized representative. Otherwise, they will just close. They will just delist those products for which they
yeah.
cannot list an authorized representative. And so that means that maybe, let's see if I can bring that up here.
Are they ahead of the curve now, or ahead of the ball then? Because it's not mandatory yet, is it?
Well, yes, they are ahead, for
Yeah,
sure. They are ahead.
and that's a smart thing.
Bring it up like this so we can do. I can visualize. Oh, let me do that like this. That's easier.
Yep.
Yeah. So the sellers, they are typically located outside of the European Union, because otherwise they don't have to also
No.
to indicate this to Amazon. So there is no importer. Amazon is doing the fulfillment service provider, but they are saying, sorry, you have to
Yeah.
appoint an authorized representative. So you would always come to the authorized representative in this regard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Clear.
And yeah, so this is something that is, I think, has huge consequences, at least for companies that are located outside of the EU and have customers in the EU that they want to, serve.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And when is this going to come into effect? That's another question. Let me see if I can bring that up here as well. The computer is slow. Can you imagine that? I have a new computer and again it's slow. There we go. So the requirement will be mid July.
All right.
I cannot read it well enough here, but it's mid July, 16 or 18 of July. So it's coming very, very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on its way.
All right. Let's see. You have questions?
I have none right now.
No
No.
questions? Okay.
No.
So our next live stream, for which we haven't set the date yet, but it's going to be either a Tuesday or a Thursday,
Yeah. Perfect.
probably around this time, maybe a little bit
Yeah.
later, in order to accommodate our clients from the US, from
Yeah.
Canada.
Maybe 5 or 6 is a better idea to get started then.
Yeah. And our next live stream will be with Ivan Hendricks, and he
Yeah,
will do a presentation on new market surveillance systems.
perfect.
So basically, developments in on the topic of market surveillance.
Hmm.
And if anyone has questions about this topic, questions that they want us to raise during that
Discuss.
interview and ask Ivan, drop them here in, again, the comment box and the chat box here, or send us an email at
Yep.
hello at aluragroup.com. So hello at aluragroup.com, and Allura Group is ALURAGROUP.com. My God.
I
Next
would
time
just
we'll,
put it in the screen right now.
yep. Yeah, I will make a button for that. So next
Yeah.
time I can make flashy logos
Yeah,
and
exactly.
flying in email addresses. Okay. So, Ivo, anything that you would like to share for now?
No, not anymore.
No?
I want to thank everybody for watching, and hope you've learned something, and hope you're going to return next week if you're interested. Tell your friends, and that's it.
Yep. Thank you very much. Take care.
All right.